Good morning once again. To formally open this activity, we request everyone to please rise for the singing of the national anthem.
Bansang awit ng
Kayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, hanap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay.
Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng mag-ibig.
sa manlulupi, di ka masisingil.
Sa lalaang tulog sa simoy at sa langit mong lugaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa pagdayang minamahal.
Ang iskap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning.
Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidiin. Mamamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Remain standing for the prayer.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
O God, the creator of the heavens and the universe, you are worthy of our praises. In you alone we pray and submit ourselves, for we are without you. We humbly ask us and mercy. Dear, we gather here today with the intent of doing good in thy name. Guide us to the right path. May our efforts be blessed with insight, understanding, wisdom, and respect for all. May our deep faith in you give us strength to act honestly and well in all matters. Amen.
You may now be seated. For a smooth and productive session, allow me to briefly go over a few reminders. First, everyone is responsible for the success of the workshop. Be fully present and actively participate. Second, mute by default. Keep your microphone muted when not speaking. This helps minimize background noise and keeps the session focused. And third, respectful communication. Use chat and reactions appropriately. Keep messages relevant to the topic and use respectful language at all times. Please also be advised that this workshop is being recorded. At this juncture, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed officials from the Department of Education. We recognize our undersecretaries, our directors, regional directors, schools division superintendents, and of course, our dear principals and school heads. Your presence today reflects your commitment to ensuring proper documentation and management of school site ownership for the Filipino learners. Thank you for joining us. Let us now listen and be inspired by the message of support from our distinguished officials. Let us welcome Undersecretary for Human Resource and Organizational Development, Dr. Wilfredo E. Cabral, for his message of support.
Good morning and thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to welcome everyone for this workshop. This is a very critical workshop as we are preparing for a better planning and programming for all of this infrastructure at the different regions, divisions, and most importantly on the school. We note that because of the effort of the legal and legislative affairs under the leadership of Yusek Filre Javier, we were able to establish critical information as to the site ownership. And as we proceed with the identification of possible sites for construction and provision of other facilities under the Basic Education Facilities Fund, we are constrained by the fact that many of our schools are site ownership constrained as to programming. And as a context, the legal and legislative affairs was able to establish about 18,000, not necessarily questionable, but challenged in terms of improper documentation, in terms of how long has the school been occupying these sites. We know for a fact that the site ownership is a critical factor in the construction of school buildings or classrooms and other facilities within the school, just to ensure that the investment of the government are actually aligned with what is required by the oversight agencies. And so this activity, I am fully supportive of this because we are actually uh, building that database, knowing that the magnitude and the programming up to certain period uh, would directly be affected by site ownership. We would like also to emphasize that through the human resource and organizational development and infrastructure, I know that many of the school heads have already accessed the Insight Ed, and one of the units will also require uploading site ownership in the profile of the school. Nonetheless, this is not just about completion of registration or completion of the required fields in the system, but also with respect to the authenticity, accuracy, and whether the site documents that we are holding, that we are also uploading, are authentic, legal, and valid. And so this workshop will truly be helpful and beneficial, not just to the school, its community, but for the entire Department of Education. Moving forward, we're trying to make sure that programming is made ahead of time so that when the budget is approved, we're just implementing it. So, again, salute to the legal. This is the only time and the first time that the legal has has been sticking its neck out to ensure that site ownership constraints are being addressed for now, and there should be no hassle anymore the way we do things in relation to school building and other infrastructure. So maraming salamat sa OSEC. It was also a directive coming from our Secretary, Seksani Angara, the entire member of the Office of the Secretary, Execom, Yusek Peter, Yusek Fatima, Yusek Weng, of course, other Execom members, Yusek Malcolm, ASEC AP, ASEC Edson, and the entire Execom members are looking forward and have been tapped to process all of this. So we're looking forward that all of the documents that we will be uploading in the Insighted platform will be something that we can rely on in the future and can be used critically for identifying the specific needs of your school and thereby removing and eliminating other barriers with respect to site ownership. So thank you very much, and hoping that with this engagement, the 18,000 sites that we have out of the 972 schools will have clear established ownership and can be used for basis in the school building programming moving forward. So thank you very much and magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat.
Thank you so much, Undersecretary Cabral, for your message of support and guidance. We appreciate your presence this morning. We now proceed to the main portion of our training. Today's discussion will focus on reading and evaluating ownership and possession documents and a step by step guide in accomplishing the STO questionnaire. To lead us through these topics, it is our pleasure to introduce the Chief of the Site's Titling Office, Attorney Ralph Christian P. Rosales.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Attorney Ralph Christian Rosales from the Site's Titling Office. Let's begin. First, let's discuss the objectives of this workshop for today. First, our goal is to guide our principals and school heads in reading and interpreting the ownership documents that their respective school sites have on hand. Second, we want to guide our principals and school heads on how to answer the collection of school site ownership data and documents questionnaire. But this workshop is not a standalone activity. This is, in fact, just a part of the department's school site data and document gathering plan. Now, the objectives of the said plan are first, to ensure that the status of ownership or possession documents of DepEd schools is accurate and our offices have complete documentation of the same. And second, ensure coordination among all relevant offices from the school level to the central office. The plan has two phases. First is the data and document gathering through the questionnaire. Second, corrective actions on typing and requisition of documents. For the timeline, phase 1 will begin on May 9, 2026. Phase 2 will begin on May 18, 2026. Next, let's discuss the roles of the different officials and personnel of the department in this plan. For the principals and school heads, they have to answer the questionnaire and provide or obtain relevant documents. For the division engineers and STO field staff, they shall provide technical assistance to our principals, school heads, and SDS. For the STO, EFD, and central office personnel and officials, they shall provide training to the employees in the field. For regional directors, they shall conduct a bi-monthly check on the status of the online and physical repository and the updates on the titling of school sites in the region. And they should also submit a report every month to the Office of the Undersecretary for Legal and Legislative Affairs and the HRO. Lastly, for the school's division superintendent, they shall ensure that the division has an online and physical repository of ownership or possession documents per lot. Next, they shall keep track of the updates on the titling of school sites. Third, they shall instruct the principals and school heads to work on the questionnaires and obtain the missing documents. Lastly, they shall report the status of sites titling during the regional night. The desired results of the plan are first, we shall have an online repository of all proof of ownership or possession of the lots where schools are located. Next, we intend to have an updated STO document management system for school sites to determine whether a school lot is owned or legally possessed by DepEd. Lastly, we should have an online tracking system to track the status of sites titling. Now, these are the types of information that we will collect through the questionnaire. First, the name of the school and the former name of the school, if applicable. Next, the division to which the school belongs. Third, the region to which the school belongs. Next, the school ID and the former school ID if applicable. Next, the school's address. Next, the principal or school head's name and their contact number. Next, we want to know whether the school possesses any ownership or possession documents. Lastly, you want to know whether the school site has multiple lots. Okay. Now, let's first discuss the different types of ownership documents that your school might have. First is the OCT, or the Original Certificate of Title. Next is the TCT, or Transfer Certificate of Title. Third, the OCT-SP, or the Original Certificate of Title, Special Patent. Fourth, the OCT-CLOA, or the Original Certificate of Title, Certificate of Land Ownership Award. And fifth, we have the TCT-CLOA, or Transfer Certificate of Title, Certificate of Land Ownership Award. If you have any of these documents, then you have an ownership document. Next, let's discuss the proof of lawful possession documents. First, we have the PP, or Presidential Proclamation. Next, we have the DENR Special Permit. Third, we have the Tax Declaration. Next, we have SP, or Special Patent. Then we have the DOS, or Deed of Sale. And we have the DOU, or Deed of Usufruct. We also have the Deed of Donation and others. Okay. Now, I will show you examples of the different types of documents that we mentioned earlier to guide you in determining what kind of document you have. First, we have an example of an OCT. This is an example of an Original Certificate of Title. This is an example of a Transfer Certificate of Title. As you can see, the name of the document is right near the top of the document, the first page of the document. Next, this is an example of a Presidential Proclamation. This is an example of a DENR Special Permit. Next, we have a sample of a tax declaration of real property. However, not all PBs look like this. For example, on my screen is a document titled Real Property Field Appraisal and Assessment Sheet, Land/Other Improvements. Although the caption of this document is different, this is still considered as a tax declaration, meaning if this is the document you have for your school, you have to indicate it as a PB in the questionnaire. Next, we have the OCT-SP, right? Original Certificate of Title, Special Patent. Next is the SP, or Special Patent. As you can see, this looks almost identical to the OCT-SP, but there are two main differences. First, in the OCT-SP, it has an Original Certificate of Title number right under the Original Certificate of Title frames. Right? There's a number there, right above the Special Patent in red letters. In the SP, this field is blank. Next, the next difference is the OCT-SP has a date of issuance. In this example, the date of issuance is August 17, 2015. In the SP, this field is also blank. Okay? Meaning, if the document you have has an OCT number and the date of issuance, that means you have an OCT-SP. If these fields are blank, what you have is an SP. You have a special patent. Next. This is an example of an Original Certificate of Title, Certificate of Land Ownership Award. This is a sample OCT clone. Okay. Next, we have a PCP CLOA. This is what it looks like. Transfer Certificate of Title, certificate of land ownership for one. Next, we have the sample deed of sale. This is what a deed of sale typically looks like. Okay. Next is the deed of usufruct or a contract of usufruct or usufruct agreement. This is what it looks like. Okay. Next is the deed of donation. This is a typical deed of donation. As you can see, the title of this document right at the top of the first page, it says deed of donation. However, not all deeds of donations look like this. In some cases, the donation of the land is contained in a deed of extrajudicial settlement. For example, here in my screen, we have a deed of extrajudicial settlement of estate with donation and its acceptance. Okay, but in the second page of the screen, you see here in the middle, it says, now therefore, for and in consideration of a desire to contribute, etc., etc., and then we have the donation of the portion of the parcel of land. Okay, if you have this kind of document, what you have is a deed of donation. First, I'll show you what the questionnaire looks like. Here. Here is the first page of the questionnaire. It says collection of school site ownership data and documents. And right under it is the consent for the data collection. On the first page, you will be asked to indicate the region to which the school belongs. So here, there's a lot of options here. For our purposes, let's choose NCR and hit next. The next page will ask you to indicate the division to which the school belongs. For our purposes, let's choose Parañaque City and hit next. The next screen will then ask you to provide the school's information. Here, you'll indicate the name of the school's former name if applicable, school ID, the former school ID if applicable, the school address. Please indicate the school's full or complete address. And then here, the principal or school head's name, the principal or school head's contact number, and next, the questionnaire will ask you to indicate whether your school has any ownership or possession document. For purposes, we will first show you what to do if you have an ownership document. Near the end of the session, we will show you what to do if you don't have any possession or ownership document. Near the bottom, you'll be asked to indicate whether your school site have multiple lots. If your school has multiple lots, you will have to click on yes, and then at the bottom, you will indicate the lot number of the lot for which you're answering the questionnaire. And please remember that if, for example, your school has 3 lots, you have to fill out and submit the questionnaire 3 times. Okay? If your school has 4 lots, then you have to fill out and submit the questionnaire 4 times. For purposes, let's just indicate no, meaning the school only has 1 lot, and hit next. The next screen will then ask you to choose the kind of ownership or possession document you have. Let's start with OCT, or Original Certificate of Title. Okay. And then let's hit next. Here, you will be asked to indicate the kind of document you have, whether it's the original, whether it's a photocopy or a scanned copy, or whether it's the certified true copy of the OCT. Here, you just have to indicate it here. Now, if what you have is just a photocopy of the OCT, please indicate the location of the original. Choose this if it's with the division, here if it's with the regional office, here if it's with the central office. Now, if the original of the OCT has been lost or destroyed, please choose the fourth option. And if you have no idea as to the location or the condition of the original OCT, please choose no information. Okay. For purposes, let's assume that the OCT we have is the original. That means we will leave this portion blank. Next, we have to indicate under whose name the OCT is registered. How do we determine that? Here, we have a sample original certificate of title or OCT. This OCT is registered under the DepEd division of Aurora. Okay. If your OCT is registered under the name of the division, of the regional office, or the other nomenclatures of DepEd, for example, under the DEX or under the Bureau of Public Schools, choose this option, Department of Education or other nomenclature of DepEd. Okay. If the OCT is registered under the name of the school, here, for example, it's registered under the Agno National High School, please choose under name of school. If the OCT is registered under the name of an individual, for example, Juan de la Cruz, representing the school, please choose this, under name of representative of school. If the OCT is registered under the name of a private person, here, for example, this OCT is registered under the name of Cipriana Miliana, please choose private person or entity. If the OCT is registered under the name of a national government agency, please choose this option, national government agency. If the OCT is registered under the name of the Republic of the Philippines, please choose this. If the OCT is registered under the name of an LGU, for example, here, this OCT is registered under the name of the city of Cavite, please choose LGU. This also applies if the OCT is registered under the name of the barangay, municipality, or province. Please choose LGU. Now, if the OCT you have is registered under the name that is not covered by any of the options listed above, please choose other and then describe. Okay. For purposes, let's just choose under name of school. At the bottom, you'll be asked to upload a copy of the OCT you have. Please note that the questionnaire will only accept documents in PDF format. Okay? You just have to click on Add File and then upload the document. Once you hit Next, the next screen will then ask you about the land classification of the school site. All right. If the school is classified as a timberland, please choose yes. If it's a forest land, choose this option. If it's part of ancestral domain, hit yes. But if the school site does not fall under any of these options, just choose no. If your school site does not fall under any of these options, just choose other and then describe. Okay. For purpose, let's say that the school site is not classified as timberland, forest land, or ancestral land. Okay. If you chose yes, you will be asked to indicate whether you have a land classification document from the DANR or a certification from the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. And then you have the option to upload the certificate of land classification. Then please hit next. The next portion of the questionnaire will then ask you to indicate whether there are ongoing ownership disputes involving the school. The first question will ask you whether there is a pending court case involving the school site. Choose this if yes, choose this if there's none. If you're unsure, choose the third option. If there is an ongoing court case, please indicate whether the matter has been endorsed to the Office of the Solicitor General. There are three options: yes, no, or unsure. Okay. Next, if there is an ongoing court case, please indicate whether there is an ongoing negotiation for compromise with the land claimant. Choose this if there is, choose this if there's none, and choose this if you are unsure. Next, you will be asked to indicate, although there is no court case yet, whether there is a person or entity claiming ownership over the school site. Okay. And if there is, you will be asked whether you have a copy of the claimant's alleged proof of ownership over the land. Okay. If you have, please upload it using this option here. And lastly, you will be asked to indicate whether you are aware of the existence of any document showing that the property is owned by another person or entity. So even if there's no claimant or there's no court case yet, if you know that a document exists showing that the school site is owned by another person or entity, please indicate your yes or no, and then upload the said proof of ownership. Then hit next. This is the last screen of the questionnaire. Here, you will be asked to indicate the history of the school's ownership over the lot. If the principal or school head is new, we will need to have the principal or school head coordinate with the previous principal or school heads to ensure that the information that will be provided is accurate. Okay. The first question is, from which of the following did DepEd or the school receive the property? Here are the options. Private individual, for example, the heirs or the PTA, then the local government unit, we have the national government agencies, indigenous groups, okay, or other, and then describe. And then you will also be asked to indicate the year when the first classroom in the school was constructed. Only if you know. And then if you have like narrative reports or any other document detailing or narrating the school's ownership history, please upload that document using the add file button here and then hit submit. Once you hit submit, you're done. Okay, that's the end of the question. Okay. Now let's discuss transfer certificate of title. Okay, let's go back to the first page of the questionnaire. Again, you will be asked to indicate the correct region. Hit next. Choose the correct division. Okay, hit next. Then provide the school's information. Once done, hit next and choose TCP or transfer certificate of title if you have a TCP for the school. Okay, choose this and then hit next. Then we will have the same questions as with the OCT portion earlier. You will be asked whether your TCP is the original, whether it's a photocopy or scanned copy, or whether it's a certified true copy. Okay. and under whose name the TCP is registered. I'll show you some examples. This TCP, okay, is registered under the name DEX, or the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports. If your TCP is registered under the name of DEX, or the Bureau of Public Schools, or the name of the division or the regional office, please choose this option, Department of Education or other nomenclature of DepEd. This is a TCP that is registered under the name of the school. Okay, let's choose this under name of school. Again, if the TCP is registered under the name of a private person representing the school, please choose this option. Okay. If the TCP is registered under the name of a private person in his personal capacity, please choose private person or entity. If the TCP is registered under the name of a national government agency, as the case here, it shows National Housing Authority, please choose national government agency. Next, we have a TCP that is registered under the name of the Republic of the Philippines. Okay, if you have this, just choose Republic of the Philippines. If your TCP is registered in the name of a barrio, barangay, city, municipality, or province, just choose LG. All right. If the registrant's name is not covered by any of the options above, please choose other and then describe. For purposes, let's say that the TCP is registered in the name of the school. If the document you have is a photocopy of the TCP, please indicate the location of the original. Division, regional office, central office. Choose this if the original TCP was lost or destroyed, and choose this if you have no information as to the location of the said document. For our purposes, let's say we have a photocopy and the original is with the division office. Then choose this photocopy or scan copy, and here choose division office, for example. And then please upload the scanned copy of the TCP that you have using the add file button here, and then hit next. And then as with the OCT earlier, you will be asked to indicate the land classification, whether it's timberland, forest land, or ancestral domain. Okay. Next, whether there are ongoing ownership disputes involving the school site. And then you will be asked to indicate the history of school's ownership over the land. Okay. Once done, just hit submit, and you're good to go. Next, let's discuss PPs or presidential proclamations. Okay. For this, let's go to, let's choose the correct region, choose the correct division, provide the details or the information of the school, hit next, and then choose presidential proclamation if what you have is a presidential proclamation for the school. Okay. The first question here, okay, let's choose PP and then hit next. The question there is, what is the purpose of the proclamation? How do we check that? Here is an example. Okay. As you can see in the top portion of the document, it says reserving for school site purposes. Okay. And then near the middle of the screen with the red boxes, it says reserve for school site purposes. If the presidential proclamation you have contains these words or phrases, then the purpose of the proclamation is educational. Okay. In that case, please choose this option in the questionnaire. For all others, meaning if the purpose is not related to education, choose all others, and then upload the soft copy of the document you have. For purposes, let's say the presidential proclamation is for educational purposes. Upload and then hit next. Then you will be asked about the land classification, the existence of ownership disputes, and then the history of school's ownership over the lot. Okay. And then hit submit once done. This is another example of a presidential proclamation. So you can see the title of the document was reserving for school purposes, okay, meaning it's for educational purposes. Next, let's discuss DENR permits. Okay. For this, let's choose the correct region, the correct division, provide the school's information. Okay. Hit next. And then choose DENR special permit if this is the document you have. Okay. Choose DENR special permit and hit next. The first question will ask you to indicate the kind of DENR permit that you have. How do we check that? Here, you will see the kind of permit you have by looking at the title of the document. For example, here, this is an example of a gratuitous special use permit or GSUP, okay? If this is the document you have, just choose this option. If the document you have says Special Forest Land Use Agreement, choose this. If it's a Special Use Agreement in Protected Areas, choose this. If it's a Sustainable Forest Land Management Agreement, choose this. If the DNR permit you have indicates a different title, choose Other and then indicate. Okay. For purposes, let's choose a gratuitous special use permit. Then here, please indicate the permit's date of issuance, and then indicate the permit's date of expiration. Then here, use this button to upload a scanned copy of the DNR permit, and then hit next. Okay. And the next screens will ask you about the land classification, the existence of ownership disputes, okay, and then the history of school's ownership over the lot. Okay. Once done, please hit submit. And that's it. Next, let's talk about tax declarations or TDs. Okay. For this, let's choose the correct region, choose the correct division, provide the school's information, hit next, and then choose TD. Again, choose TD if what you have is a tax declaration for the school site. And then hit next. Okay. The first question refers to that type of TD you are currently holding. Specifically, whether it's a photocopy or scanned copy or the certified true copy of the TD. Okay. For this, let's assume that it's the photocopy or scanned copy. Then you will be asked whether the TD is for land or a building. How do we check that? Here, this is an example of a tax declaration or TD of real property. Look at the middle of the screen. There's a red box there showing it's for land. Okay. There's a check in the box for land, meaning this TD is for land. If this is what you have, choose land, this portion of the questioning. If the tax declaration is for a building, as in the case here, right, there's a red box showing there's the circle is darkened for the building option. Please choose building in this portion of the questionnaire. If the TD is for land, under whose name is it registered? choose the correct option here based on the information shown on your document. Okay. Here. Here's a table of the different names that might appear on your TB, and then the entity that owns it. Okay. Meaning, if the tax declaration shows, for example, ABC Barangay School, please choose DepEd or Department of Education or other nomenclature of DepEd in this portion. Okay. If the TB, for example, is registered under the name of a private person, for example, here, Juan de la Cruz, and then their school site, please choose private, right? Private entity. If the TB is registered under the name of an LGU, for example, the city or municipality, please choose this, okay? And then please upload a copy of the tax declaration. Then hit next. And here, choose the kind of LGU, let's say city, hit next. And then you will be asked to indicate the land classification, all right? To indicate whether there are existing ownership disputes, and then the history of school's ownership over the lot, as in the previous cases. Okay, and then hit submit. Here is an example of a tax declaration registered under the name of Bureau of Public Schools, Division of Palawan. Okay. If you have this, please choose DepEd or other nomenclature of DepEd. This is a TB registered in the name of a school, Paumbong Elementary School. Okay. This is a TB under a private person's name. This is registered under the name of a national government agency, specifically the National Housing Authority. This TB is under the name of the Republic of the Philippines. This is a TB under the name of a municipality. And there. Now let's talk about OCT SPs. Okay. Let's go to the first page of the questionnaire. Choose the correct region. Choose the correct division. Provide the school's information. And choose OCT SP if what you have is an original certificate of title special patent for the school site. Okay. Choose this and then hit next. As in the previous cases, you will be asked to indicate whether you have the original, the photocopy or scanned copy, or a certified true copy of the OCT SP or the document. Okay. For our purposes, let's say we have the original. And then you'll be asked to indicate whether the OCT SP is under the name of DepEd, the LGU, or others. Here are the different types or the different names might appear on your OCT SP. Okay, don't worry, we will share with you these slides as well as the FAQs and the written guide. Okay, so you can refer to them once you are filling out the questionnaire. For our purposes, let's say the OCT SP is registered under the name of DepEd. Then you will have to upload a copy of the OCT SP and hit next. Then you will be asked about the land classification, the existence of ownership disputes, okay, and the history of school's ownership over the lot, as in the previous cases. And then you have to hit submit. Next, let's talk about here is an OCT SP under the name of the Department of Education. Okay. There, this one is under the school's name, Kamanga Elementary School. And there, Let's have a 5 minute health break. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Ralph. At this point, we'll be taking a short break of 5 minutes. Please remain logged in as the session will promptly resume. You can also use this time to type in your questions in the Q&A portion. You can click the Q&A icon at the top of your screen, and we will be preparing to give you the answers for your questions. We will resume shortly. Thank you.
Okay, so our 5 minutes have passed. So we hope with all of the notes and questions that we may have, keep them in mind. These are things that, kumbaga, later on as the discussion continues and as we do our deep dives, these may be addressed or so now that we have seen the whole system, we will start unpacking what this means in practice. So, Director Gerson, please.
Thank you, Director Veron, for that.
Welcome back, everyone. May we now request all participants to refocus our attention as we resume the workshop. We shall now continue with the discussion. Once again, let us welcome Attorney Ralph Christian Rizal.
Oh, okay, let's continue. Uh, Next, let's talk about deeds of sale or DOS. Let's go back to the questionnaire. Here, let's choose the correct region, the correct division, enter the school's information here, then hit next. Okay. If you have a deed of sale, choose this, DOS, deed of sale, and then hit next. The first question refers to the seller in the DOS. Okay. How do we check the seller? Here, I'll show you an example. In this DOS, you can see near the top of the screen or the document, in the red box, it says the municipal government of Magallanes. If the seller indicated in your deed of sale is an LGU, please choose the first option. Okay. And as you can see here, it says vendor with a second red box. It says vendor. If you may see vendor or seller. Okay. If the vendor or the seller in the DOS is an LGU, choose this option. If the seller indicated in your deed of sale is a private person, please choose this. If the seller is an IP community, choose this. If the seller is not covered by any of these options above, choose other and then describe. For our purposes, let's assume that the seller is a private person. Then you'll be asked about the buyer in the deed of sale. Here, who is the buyer? How do we check that? Here in this sample, the buyer is indicated by the term vendee. Here in this example, you might see vendee or buyer. Here it's the Magallanes National Vocational High School. Okay. If you see this, okay, then choose DepEd. So if the buyer or the vendee indicated in the deed of sale is the school, the division office, the regional office, okay, or any nomenclatures pertaining to DepEd, such as Bureau of Public Schools or DEX, please choose DepEd. If the buyer is an LGU, as in the case here, you'll see the vendee is the city of Bayawan. Please choose LGU here. If the buyer is a private person, for example, Juan de la Cruz indicated as the vendee or the buyer, please choose private. In all other cases, please choose other and describe. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that the buyer indicated in the deed of sale is DepEd. Then you will be asked about the signatory. Okay. Who signed on behalf of DepEd? How do we check that? Okay. Here. In this example, as you can see, the first page, it says deed of absolute sale. Okay. How do we check the signatory on behalf of DepEd? On the second page, inside the red box, it says Rosana M. Noche, school head buyer. Okay. It means this is the person who signed on behalf of DepEd. If this is the case, right, please choose teacher or principal or school head, right? Choose this. And then in this next example, the signatory is the SDS, all right? Division superintendent, just choose this, SDS. If the signatory on behalf of DepEd is the regional director, as in the case here it says regional director, choose RD. In all other cases, just choose others, okay? For our purposes, let's say the signatory was the RD, okay? Just choose this. Next, does the DepEd representative have a duly executed special power of attorney or SPA? All right, it's a yes or no question. How do we check that? Uh, Here is an example of an SPA. Okay. Here, special power of attorney. Right, authorizing a DepEd official to sign a deed of sale on behalf of DepEd. Okay. If you have a special power of attorney attached to the deed of sale, please choose yes. Okay. Otherwise, please choose no. Okay. For our purposes, let's say that the DepEd representative or the RD here has a duly executed special power of attorney. So choose yes. Okay. Next question is, what is the proof of ownership of the seller as indicated in the deed of sale? Okay. How do we check that? Here. Here. In this example of a deed of absolute sale, all right, look at the bottom of the screen inside the red box. It says TCP number T-31563. Okay. If your deed of sale or deed of absolute sale indicates that the seller has an OCP or TCP proving his or her ownership over the property, choose this OCT/OCP in the proof of ownership of the seller portion. Okay. Now, if the deed of absolute sale indicates that the seller's proof is a tax declaration, as you can see here inside the red box, right? Tax declaration and the number, choose this TB/appraisal and assessment of real property. Okay. If the deed of sale does not indicate any proof of the seller's ownership over the property, choose none indicated. Okay. None indicated. Now, if the deed of sale um, indicates a proof of ownership that is not OCT or TCT or TB or appraisal and assessment of real property, right? Just choose other and then describe. Okay. For purposes, let's say the seller has an OCT or TCT. Okay. Then you will be asked to provide a copy or whether you have a copy of the proof of ownership of the seller. Okay. Let's say yes. Then you will have to upload the seller's proof of ownership here. You will also be asked to indicate whether the deed of sale is notarized, because this is a requirement for the registration of the property under DepEd's name. Okay, this is a requirement. So how do we check if the deed of sale is notarized? I'll show you an example. Okay, here is a 3-page deed of sale. In the last portion or the last page of the document, here inside the red box, here is the notarial portion of the document. Okay, it shows the details of the notary public, as well as the date of execution of the deed of sale. All right. It also shows the document number, page number, book number, and the series or the year of the notarial book of the notary public. Okay. If your deed of sale contains this portion completely filled out, that means your deed of sale is notarized, and you have to choose yes here in this portion. Now I'll show you an example of a deed of sale that is not notarized here. Okay. It just shows the details of the signatories, like the vendor and the vendee, but there is no notarial portion, meaning this deed of sale was not notarized. Okay. And you have to choose no here in this portion. Okay. For purposes, let's say the deed of sale was notarized. Okay. So let's choose yes. Next, Next question is the parcel of land clearly identifiable in terms of land area, needs, and bounds? How do we check this? Okay. This is an example of a deed of sale that clearly identifies the parcel of land. Here, in the second page, inside the red box, okay, inside the red box are two violet rectangles, right? The second violet rectangle says 8,000 square meters, or SQM, more or less. If your deed of sale has this information, right, the land area of the land subject of the deed of sale, then you have to choose yes, okay? And then if yes, you have to provide the land area here. So since in this portion it says 8,000 square meters, I will have to type 8,000 here, okay? I'll show you an example of a deed of sale that does not indicate the land area. Here in this one-page deed of sale document, the land area of the property in question was not indicated. Okay. For purposes, let's say the land area is identifiable and the land area is 8,000. So I'll just have to type that here. And then next question is, what type of physical document are you currently holding? Whether it's the original or the photocopy. Okay. And let's say it's just a photocopy. And if it's just a photocopy, where is the original? Right? Division office, regional office, central office, lost or destroyed, or no information. If your situation is not covered by any of these choices, just choose other and describe. Okay. For our purposes, let's say the original is with the division office. Okay. Then you will be asked whether there were issues or problems encountered in the transfer of property in the name of that ed. Okay. Whether it's for tax and other fees or delinquencies, whether the original of the DOS or deed of sale is lost or missing, whether it requires a survey. Here, if there are no issues or problems encountered. Okay. In all other cases, just choose other and then describe. Okay. Then you'll be asked to upload a copy of the deed of sale. Then hit next. The next screens will ask you about the land classification, as in the previous cases. Land classification, ownership disputes, okay. And then the history of school's ownership over the land, as we have discussed earlier in the previous cases. Okay. Once done, hit submit, and you're done. Next, let's talk about deeds of use of right. Okay. For this, let's choose the correct region, the correct division, enter the school's information, hit next, and then choose deed of use of right. Okay. Deed of use of right. If this is the document you have, then hit next. Okay. First question for this portion is, what is the proof of ownership of the naked owner or title owner as indicated in the deed of use of right? Here are the options: OCT or TCP, TB. If there's no proof of ownership indicated in the deed or document, choose none indicated. In all other cases, again, if the deed of use of right refers to a document that is not OCT or TCP or TB, choose other. Okay. If the deed of use of right is silent as to the naked owners or title owners proof of ownership, choose none. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that the title owner's proof of ownership is an OCT or TCP. So let's choose this. Okay. Here, in this example, this is a contract of use of rock. In the middle of the screen, inside the red box, it says title number TCP T-40910. It means in this contract of use of rock, the proof of ownership of the title owner or the naked owner is a TCP, meaning we have to choose this. Okay. Now let's talk about the next question is whether you have a copy of the proof of ownership. So choose this if yes, otherwise choose no. And then you will be asked to upload a copy of the owner's proof of ownership using this add file button here. Okay. Now let's talk about the period of the use of rock. How do we check it? Here in this use of rock agreement, in the second page, in the middle of the screen, inside the red box, it says 15 years. Okay. That means you have to choose the first option, less than 25 years. Okay. Next example, inside the red box, it says 25 years. This is the term of the use of rock. In this case, we should choose 25 years. Okay. For the next example, in the second page of the document, it says the term of the use of rock shall be for a period of 50 years, meaning we should choose more than 25 years in this portion of the questionnaire. Okay. If the contract of use of rock does not indicate any period for its duration, meaning the contract or agreement is silent as to the period of the use of rock, choose non-indicated. However, if the period of use of rock indicated does not fall under any of these options, just choose other. Okay? And then explain. For our purposes, let's say the period of the use of rock is more than 25 years. So I'll choose this. And then you have to indicate the date of effectivity of the deed of use of rock. How do we check that? Here, in this example, in the second page, it refers to effectivity, renewal, and termination. Okay. It says here, the deed of use of rock shall take effect immediately upon signing by the parties hereof. Meaning you'll have to check the date on which the parties signed the document, and that is the date of effectivity of the deed of use of rock. And you have to indicate it here, okay, in this portion. And then you have to indicate whether the use of rock is renewable. Okay. In this example, it says subject to the renewal by the parties for another period upon mutual agreement. If your deed of use of rock has this portion, it means that the deed of use of rock is renewable. So you have to check this. If it is renewable, but it is subject to the consent of the parties or certain conditions, choose this. If the deed of use of rock is not renewable, choose this option. Next question is, who is the landowner? And we have three options here: LGU, private person or corporation, and then indigenous cultural community or indigenous people. In our example, we have the municipality of Bacong as the owner, okay, as indicated in the first page of this example. In the next example, contract of use of rock, the owner or the owners is here a private person, Luisa Consing Noxi. In this Next example, it's the Aita Magbukon Indigenous Cultural Community. Meaning we have, for this example, we have to choose this. Indigenous cultural community or indigenous people. Okay. And if it's the ICC or IP, indicate whether you have an NCIT certificate. This is an example of an NCIT certificate. Okay. It says National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. If you have the certificate, choose yes, and then upload a copy of the NCIT certificate using this button here. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that the landowner is an LG. Okay. Now, if the owner of the property is a private corporation, please indicate whether you have a secretary certificate or board resolution authorizing the execution of the deed of use of property. Okay. Here is what it looks like. This is an example of a secretary certificate. Okay. If you have this document, please choose yes and then upload using this button here. Okay. Now, if the title owner is a local government unit, please indicate whether you have a sangguniang resolution authorizing or approving the execution of the deed of use of property. Here is an example. This is an example of a sangguniang resolution. Here it was issued by the Davao City, or the sangguniang for Davao City. Right? If you have this, just choose yes and then upload using the button here, the add file button. Okay. Then you will be asked about the signatory on behalf of that end. Okay. How do we check that? Here in this contract of use of rock example, the signatory on behalf of that ed is Mr. Novelito and Bedasua. Okay, Novelito and Bedasua. And if you look at the top portion of this contract, it says Novelito and Bedasua is the principal 3 of Nampikuan Central School. Okay, meaning you have to choose this option: teacher, principal, or school head. Okay, if the signatory is an SDS, as in the case here, Ms. Aleli R. Abne, Schools Division Superintendent, choose this option, okay, SDS. If the signatory is the RD, as in the case here, Regional Director Luisa Bautista Yu, choose this, RD, okay. If the signatory is a person other than these people here, choose other and then describe, okay. Next question is whether the DepEd representative has a duly executed SPA. Here is an example. Okay. Here, the second page, special power of attorney. Similar with deeds of sale. Okay. Special power of attorney. If you have this document, choose yes and then upload. If you don't have an SPA, choose no. Okay. Next question, is the parcel of land clearly identifiable? Here, in this example, deed of grant of usufructuary rights. Near the bottom of the screen, it says 1,481 square meters. If your deed of usufruct has this information, right, choose yes in this portion of the questionnaire. Otherwise, choose no. Then you'll be asked what type of physical document you're currently holding. If you have the original, choose this. If it's a photocopy, choose this. And if what you have is a photocopy, indicate the location of the original. Okay. Whether it's with the division, the regional office, central office, whether the original has been lost or destroyed. If you have no idea as to the location of the original, choose this. Okay. In all other cases, choose this and describe. Okay. For our purposes, let's say we have the original of the deed of use of work. Then you will have to upload the scanned copy of the deed of use of work using the button here. And then hit next. Okay. Hit next. And that's it. Now let's talk about deeds of donation. Okay. For this, let's go back to the first page, choose the correct region, choose the correct division, provide the school's information, and hit next. Then choose DOD or deed of donation if this is the document you have for your school site. Then hit next. Okay. The first question is, what is the donor's proof of ownership as indicated in the deed of donation? And then we have several options here. How do we check that? I'll show you an example. Here, in this deed of donation, in the middle of the screen, it says transfer certificate of title number NT-203480. If we have this information, that means the donor's proof of ownership is a TCP, okay? Which means you have to choose OCT or TCP in this portion of the questionnaire. Right? Here's a TCP. And if the deed of donation indicates that the owner's proof of ownership is a TD or tax declaration, choose this. For all other kinds of proof of ownership, choose this. For example, if the donor's proof of ownership is a deed of sale, obviously that's not an OCT or TCP and not a TD, right? Choose others in this portion of the screen. If the deed of donation is silent as to the donor's proof of ownership, choose none indicated. Okay. Again, if the deed of donation is silent as to the proof of ownership, choose none indicated. However, if the deed of donation refers to a document that is not OCT, TCP, or TB, choose others. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that the donor's proof of ownership is a TB. Okay, so I'll choose this. Then you'll be asked whether you have a copy of the proof of ownership of the donor. Okay. Now, next question is, who is the donor? Okay, how do we check that? Here is an example of a deed of donation. At the top of the screen, okay, we have two red boxes. The first, it says local government of Santa Maria, Ilocos Sur. And then the second box, it says donor. Okay. This means that the donor is a local government unit, and we have to choose this option in this part of the questionnaire. Okay. In the next example, the donor is a private entity. It's a private corporation named New Tarlac Realty Co. Incorporated. Okay. If this is the donor indicated in your deed of donation, choose private person or corporation. If the donor is a national government agency, as in the case here, it says the National Irrigation Administration, right, indicated as the donor, choose national government agency. If the donor is an IT community, as in the case here, right, it says deed of donation, Konseho ng Tribo ng Bayan-Bayanan, ancestral domain, choose IT community. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that the donor is a private person. So I'll choose this. Okay. If the donor is an LGU, you will be asked whether you have a sangguniang resolution. Okay. Here's an example of a sangguniang resolution approving or authorizing the donation of the land. If you have this, please choose yes and upload a copy of that resolution using this button here. Otherwise, please choose no. Okay. If the donor is a private corporation, please indicate whether you have a secretary certificate or board resolution authorizing the donation. Here is an example of a secretary certificate authorizing or approving the donation of a parcel of land as school site. Okay. If you have this, please choose yes and then upload. Okay. Otherwise, choose no. You will also be asked about the signatory, okay, for DepEd. How do we check that? Okay. In this example, okay, the signatory on behalf of DepEd is Mr. Arnel Doctolao, okay, indicated as the donee school head. Okay. If this applies to you, please choose teacher, principal, school head in this portion of the questionnaire. If the signatory for DepEd is an SDS, as in the case here, SDS Cuenco, please choose SDS. If the signatory is an RD or regional director, choose this. Okay. If there is no DepEd signatory, choose this. In all other cases, choose other and then describe. For our purposes, let's assume that the signatory is the principal or school head okay? Next is whether the DepEd representative has a duly executed SPA. Okay. If you have a special power of attorney authorizing the DepEd representative to sign the deed of donation on behalf of DepEd, choose yes. Otherwise, choose no. If yes, please upload a copy of the SPA using this Add File button here. Then you'll be asked to indicate whether the deed of donation is notarized. How do we check that? Here is an example of a deed of donation that is notarized. Okay, as in the other deeds, okay, the deed of donation should have a completely filled out notarial portion, as in the case here. Okay, it provides the notary public's details. Okay, if your deed of donation has a completely filled out notarial portion, please choose yes. Okay. Now, I'll show you an example of a deed of donation that is not notarized. As you can see, okay, in the second page of this deed of donation, there is no notary public information, and the document number, page number, book number fields are blank. If your deed of donation has this, please choose no in this portion of the questionnaire. Okay. Next question, did both parties personally appear before the notary public? We have three options. Yes, no, donor only, and then no, donee only. Okay. I'll show you some examples. Here, in this deed of donation, okay, you can see that both the donor and the donee, or the representative of DepEd, appeared before the notary public. Okay. If this applies to you, choose yes in this portion of the questionnaire. Next example, okay, in this deed of donation, only the donor appeared. As you can see in the middle of the screen, only the donor portion is filled out. Okay, the other portion is blank. If this applies to you, please choose no and then donor only. Next example, here only the donee appeared in front of the notary public. Okay. If this applies to you, choose no and then donee only. For our purposes, let's assume that both parties, meaning the donor and the donee, appeared before the notary public. So I'll choose yes. Okay. Now, uh, when it comes to deeds of donations, the law requires that the donee accept the donation. Okay? This acceptance of the donation may be contained in the deed of donation itself, or it may be contained in a separate document. Okay? In this example, the acceptance is contained in the deed of donation itself. As you can see in the red box near the bottom of the screen, okay, it says acceptance, and then signed by the debt hedge representative. Okay, if your deed of acceptance or the notarized document indicating the acceptance of the donated land is contained in a separate document, you'll have to upload that separate acceptance in the upload button in the screen. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that there's a notarized document indicating the donor's acceptance. So I'll choose yes. Okay. Next question, is the donated parcel of land clearly identifiable in terms of land area or meets and bounds? How do we check that? Okay. In this example, in the second page, right, at the bottom of the screen, it says 7,124 square meters. If your deed of donation has this information, it means the land is clearly identifiable. So you have to choose yes and type in the land area in square meters. So I'll type in 7,124. Okay. Otherwise, please choose no. If your deed of donation is silent as to the land area or the meets and bounds, choose no. Next question is, does the donation have conditions for the use of the land? In this example, we have a conditional deed of donation. If you look at the bottom of the first page and the top of the second page, we have a list of conditions. If your deed of donation has this information, please choose yes and then indicate all the conditions as stated in the deed of donation. Okay, please state all the conditions. If your deed of donation does not have any condition, please choose no. Okay. Then you'll be asked to indicate whether you have the original or a photocopy of the deed of donation. Okay. Then if it's a photocopy, indicate the location of the original, whether it's with the division, the regional office, central office, whether it was lost or destroyed, or whether you have no information as to the location of the original. In all other cases, please choose other and then explain. Okay. For our purposes, let's assume that we have the original deed of donation. Okay. Then we have to upload a soft copy or the scanned copy of the deed of donation here using the add file button, and then hit next. Once you hit next, you will be asked about the land classification, okay, about the existence of ownership disputes, and the history of school's ownership over the lot, as in the other cases we discussed earlier. Once done, please choose submit. Okay. So you can see these are the common questions. Okay, the land classification, the ownership disputes, and the history of school's ownership. These are the common questions, and they apply to all types of ownership or possession documents that a school might have. Regardless of the document you have, you'll have to provide details about the land classification, ownership disputes, and school ownership history. or school site ownership history. Okay. And if you know the date in which the first classroom was constructed in the school, you'll have to indicate it there. Again, only if you know the if you know this detail. Okay. Now, let's discuss those situations where the school does not have any uh, ownership or possession document. Okay. So choose the correct region, choose the correct division, provide the school's information. Okay. And in this portion, does the school possess any ownership slash possession documents? Choose no, right? Choose no, and then hit next. In the next screen, which talks about the proof of ownership slash possession, scroll down, and near the bottom it says none. Okay. If you don't have any ownership or possession document for your school site, choose none, and then hit next. Okay. And then you will be asked about the land classification. Okay. Land classification, ownership disputes, and history of schools ownership. Obviously, the questionnaire will not ask you to upload anything because, again, you don't have any document to upload. So once you indicate none, you'll skip to the uh, land classification, ownership disputes, and ownership history portion of the questionnaire. Okay. Now, what if you have a document indicating ownership or possession, but it does not fall under any of the documents you have discussed so far? In that situation, please indicate the correct region, choose the correct division, okay? In the school information page, please choose yes, okay? Because you have, okay? In the question, does the school possess any ownership possession documents? You have, okay? Please choose yes, and then hit next. In the next screen, proof of ownership slash possession, scroll down to the bottom, choose other, and then describe, okay? Let's say here, I'll just type in sample or choose or type in the title of the document you have. Again, if the document you have does not fall under any of these documents, please choose other and then describe or indicate the title of that document and then choose next. Okay. And then you will be asked to indicate the land classification. Okay. Land classification, the ownership dispute, and the history of the school's ownership over the lot. Okay. And then hit submit. Okay, that is the end of our presentation. Um, let's have a 5-minute break, and then we will go to the FAQ portion, and the frequently asked questions, and then the written guide. We will discuss these matters first before we go to the questions of our participants, because the questions of our participants may already be addressed by these documents. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Ralph, for that clear and comprehensive presentation. We hope we hope that the discussion has provided our principals and school heads with the necessary guidance in properly reviewing documents and accomplishing the required questionnaire. For now, let's have a 5-minute break, and as mentioned by Chief, we'll be proceeding with the FAQs, written guide, and open forum. Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. We now proceed to the open forum or question and answer. Chief Ralph will discuss first the frequently asked questions, the written guide, and the questions sent by our participants in the Q&A icon. This will give us an opportunity to raise clarifications or concerns. And as mentioned, we'll begin with the FAQs, then written guide, then the questions. Chief Ralph.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Celine. Now let's go to the uh, FAQs. Okay. Uh, Frequently asked questions. First, who should fill out the questionnaire? The answer, it is the principal or school head who should fill out the questionnaire for his or her school. Assistance from teachers or other personnel is allowed. However, it is the sole responsibility of the principal to make sure that the answers to the questionnaire are accurate and the ownership documents are provided. For schools without a principal, who will fill out the questionnaire? The answer, it is the school head who is mandated to answer the questionnaire. Next question, in case of multiple lots, should the principal fill out individual questionnaire for each lot? The answer is yes. In case of multiple lots, the principal or school head must fill out the questionnaire as many times as there are lots. For example, if your school consists of 3 lots, then the principal or school head should fill out the questionnaire 3 times, indicating the lot number in each questionnaire. Okay. Next, what if the documents have already been submitted to the school's division office or SDO? Should the principal or school head still fill out the questionnaire? The answer is yes. The principal or school head should still fill out the questionnaire. He or she should upload the scanned documents to the questionnaire. Request the soft copies from the SDO if necessary. Next, what if there is already a pending request for issuance of certificate of title with the Registry of Deeds? In this case, indicate in the questionnaire if there is a pending application for request of certificate of title. However, you still have to upload the available document. Okay. For example, you have a deed of donation for which you are already applying for the issuance of a certificate of title. Okay. There, please indicate that you have an ongoing application for the issuance of the said certificate, but please upload the copy of the deed of donation, okay, because that is the document currently available to you. Next, do the documents have to be named specifically under DepEd? The answer is no. The document may be named under the Bureau of Public Schools, the Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, the name of the school, the name of the division, or the name of the regional office, etc. Okay? What if there are no ownership or lawful possession documents? Kindly answer no to the first question in the questionnaire and provide other information as needed. Okay. What if there were documents but were lost or destroyed? You should still complete the form and select the applicable options. The steps for obtaining replacement copies will vary depending on which documents were lost. A separate workshop will be held to guide you on how to secure new copies of the said documents. Next, what if we only have photocopies of the ownership or lawful possession documents? You still have to upload the photocopies in the questionnaire and indicate in the preceding question where the original documents are. And next, will the slides for the workshop be available for download? The answer is yes. You will be able to download these slides as well as the FAQs and the written guide, okay, for your reference. We will give you the link for these documents later. And you can in fact see the download link on my screen right now. Okay, now let's proceed to the written guide. Also, please note that we will we are recording this session, and we will uh, allow you to download a copy of this recording. Okay, it will be available for download. Now, let's talk about the written guide on document determination. There are different types of ownership and possession documents used for lands. Some documents are already final and prove ownership, while others are preparatory and still require additional steps before a certificate of title, whether OCT or ECT, can be issued. First, how do we determine the kind of document we have? Okay, as a preliminary step, the document must be examined on its face. We have to look at the document itself. Step one, look at the caption or title of the document. Okay. The title usually tells you what the document is, whether it's an OCT, PCT, deed of sale, deed of donation, etc. Okay. Step two, we have to read the contents of the document. Okay. We have to read the documents to understand who the parties are, what rights are given, whether the document has been signed or notarized, and whether the document has been registered with the proper office, whether it's with the Registry of Deeds, the DNR, etc. Now let's talk about the final and the preparatory documents. First, final documents. These are the conclusive evidence of ownership. Certain ownership documents are final, meaning they do not require further processes involving government agencies. These include OCTs and PCTs, meaning if you already have an OCT registered under DepEd's name or the school's name, we don't have anything else to do. Okay, that's it. Now let's talk about the preparatory documents. These are the documents that, although they indicate an intent to transfer ownership or to allocate land for DepEd's use, these are merely preparatory and do not, by themselves, conclusively prove ownership, okay, in favor of DepEd. What are these? These are the deeds of absolute sale, the deeds of donation, the NR permits, LGU resolutions. Okay. Again, even if we have these documents, for example, we already have a deed of donation. Okay, it's not a final document because we still have to secure a ECP or an OCP, which are applicable. Obtaining these preparatory documents is not enough. Additional steps are still required, such as the acceptance by DepEd in case of donations, the payment of applicable taxes and fees, registration with the Registry of Deeds, and securing the certificate of title, whether OCT or ECT. Until these steps are completed, DepEd does not yet have a conclusive and uncontrovertible proof of ownership over a parcel of land. Then we also have documents proving DepEd's lawful possession. DepEds can still use lands as school sites despite lack of ownership over the same land if there is proof of lawful possession. Okay. For example, if we have a use of rock agreement, okay, this is the most common document for school sites. It allows DepEd to use the land for a specific purpose, usually for a set period. This must be in writing and notarized. Okay. Again, just to make it clear, in a use of rock agreement, the owner retains ownership over the land. It's just that DepEd is allowed to use that land for a specific purpose and for a specific period of time. Other acceptable documents, you have MOAs, the lease agreements, and agreements with LGUs or other government agencies. Now, here are some simple steps to follow. Again, the first thing we have to do is to identify the type of document we have by checking its title and contents. Next, we have to determine whether it is a final document, a preparatory document, or it's a proof of lawful possession. In case of preparatory documents, we have to determine what is still needed to be done. For example, we have to secure a certificate authorizing registration from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or we have to submit documents to the Registry of Deeds. Okay, then we have to act accordingly. In case of final documents or proof of lawful possession, for example, we have OCT, PCT, or a deed of use of wrong, we have to submit the original of the said documents to the school's division office for recording and safekeeping. Okay, that's it for the written guide. Now let's proceed to the questions of our participants. Okay. One more. Okay, let's proceed to the first question. Okay, I'm going to read the question verbatim. Here, good morning po. Our school is donated by the LGU. We have the photocopy of the title and the OCP is with the LGU. But in the process of titling, we need the OCP. So I asked the treasurer if we can have the deeds and OCP. Unfortunately, the office have lost the OCP. Based the assistance or SDO as given, we need to retrieve that OCP. The LGU is willing to transfer the land, but they don't have the financial assistance to support, especially to the processes needed to undergo to retrieve or have the copy of the OCP. Question: what resolution can you assist us with this problem? Okay. For this, we have to clarify the scope of our workshop. Okay. For this workshop, our focus is on gathering data and ownership or possession documents from the schools. Resolving issues regarding the documents. For example, in this case, the document is already missing or the document was lost. It will involve getting new copies of those documents. It will be covered in the phase 2, okay, or the corrective actions for these kinds of documents. It will be in phase 2. Okay. Don't worry, we will also have workshops, okay, so we can address these problems. Okay. So for our purposes, for the purpose of answering the questionnaire, okay, please indicate that you have a deed of donation, again, because it's a donation made by the LGU. Please choose the deed of donation as the proof of ownership, and then indicate that the LGU or the owner's proof of ownership is an OCP, but that the OCP is missing. Okay, and then provide the information as we discussed earlier. Okay, again, for now, we just want to get the data. We just want to get the information from the school level. Okay, we will address these issues, the missing or lost or destroyed documents, in the phase 2 of our plan. Okay, don't worry, these issues will be addressed. Okay, there. So again, for the questionnaire, just provide the information we need and then indicate that the document is missing. Okay. Next, sir, our school belongs to forestal area. We only have a deed of donation. That's the question. For this, please indicate that your proof of ownership or possession is a deed of donation, and then upload a copy of that deed of donation. And then once done, there will be a screen there asking you about the land classification. In this case, please choose the forestal area option, okay? And then indicate that you do not have a copy of the certification for the land classification. And that's it. Okay. As mentioned earlier, information about the land classification, the ownership disputes, and history of site ownership. These are the common questions applicable, okay, to all the ownership and possession documents you have. Next question, we have only certificate of stewardship from DENR. Is this considered as DENR special permit? The answer is yes. It falls under the other option. Okay, please choose other and then type in certificate of stewardship. Okay. Again, choose DENR special permit, choose other, and then certificate of ownership. And then please upload a copy of that certificate. Next question. Hi, if my tax declaration and deed of donation po ang school, twice po ba mag-accomplish ng Google form? Okay. The answer is it depends. Okay. If your school has different lots and the TD pertains to one lot and the deed of donation pertains to another lot, then you have to upload them separately. Okay, you have to answer or accomplish the questionnaire twice. Okay. However, if the ownership or possession document that you have is actually a deed of donation, all right, it's a deed of donation, and the tax declaration that ED you have is just the owner's proof of ownership over the parcel of land, you only have to accomplish the questionnaire once. Okay, indicate the DOD, the deed of donation, as your ownership or possession document, and then upload the TD, the tax declaration, as the owner's proof of ownership. Again, in this case, you only have to accomplish or submit the questionnaire once. The deed of donation is the main document. The tax declaration is just a supporting document showing the owner's proof of ownership. Okay. Now, what if there was already a deed of donation, right? If the property was already donated to, let's say, the school, and the school was able to secure a tax declaration under its name. Okay. Again, example, deed of donation from a private person or private corporation donated to the school, and the school already secured, thanks to that deed of donation, it was able to secure a tax declaration under the school's name. In this case, you don't have to upload the deed of donation anymore. The school's proof of ownership or possession is already the tax declaration. Okay. In that case, you only have to fill out the questionnaire once and choose tax declaration as the school's proof of ownership. Okay. Next question. In determining under whose name a PCP is registered, what will we use in this example? Republic of the Philippines through the Department of Education. That's the name indicated, Republic of the Philippines through the Department of Education. In this case, the property is registered under the name of the Republic of the Philippines. The word through indicates that the Department of Education is only a representative of the Republic. Okay. Again, if the TCT or the OCT says Republic of the Philippines through DepEd or through the Department of Education, the property is registered under the Republic of the Philippines. Okay. And that's it. Next, may deed of donation po kami from Katabing State University and under Presidential Proclamation. Pero yung tax declaration ng lot indicated sa mga papel ay under private name. Paano po kaya ito? Okay. In this case, please choose deed of donation as the school's proof of ownership or possession. Okay. And then upload the presidential proclamation and the copy of the PD as the supporting documents. Right? You will need to get the copies of these documents. There to resolve the inconsistency, it will involve a corrective action, which again will happen in the stage 2 or the phase 2 of our plan. For now, we just have to obtain the information and documents from you. So for this, since your main document showing ownership or possession is a deed of donation, choose that option, upload a copy of that document, and then upload a copy of the presidential proclamation and tax declaration as supporting documents. Okay. Next question. A portion of our school site is currently being used by a private individual for agricultural purposes. This concern was already referred to the LGU for a resurvey. However, no action has been taken to date. The individual continues to occupy and utilize the land and persistently claims ownership over the said portion, showing reluctance to return it to the school. As of now, despite the matter being endorsed to the LGU, no resolution has been made. Okay. For this, please upload the school's ownership or possession document. Okay? Because in the question, it's not indicated. Okay, so for example, if the school has a TCT or OCT, just upload that document, and then in the latter sections of the questionnaire, indicate that there is an ongoing ownership dispute. Okay, indicate that there is a land claim, and upload a copy of the claimant's proof of ownership, alleged proof of ownership, if you have a copy of that document. Okay. I understand that this situation clearly requires a corrective action, which again will be addressed. This issue will be addressed in the phase 2 of our plan. Okay. For now, just give us the information and the documents we need with regard to the ownership or possession of the school site. Okay. Next, good day. May I respectfully seek guidance and opinion for our school, which is currently operating in temporary facilities on the privately owned property with donated relocation site already identified, and how to ensure speedy attention and appropriate action from higher office for its fast transfer and development. Okay. For this, if there is already a deed of donation for the new school site, please choose deed of donation as a proof of ownership or possession of the school site, and then give us the information and supporting documents as discussed in the slides earlier. Okay. With regard to the speedy attention and appropriate action from the higher offices, these are corrective actions which will be addressed. These are corrective actions which will happen in the phase 2 of our plan. Okay. Next. The school was established on a school site with deed of donation in June 1999. When one of the heirs became the school head sometime in mid-2000s, he transferred the school site on the other side of the road, stating that this was the lot donated by their parents, leaving 3 buildings or 8 classrooms on the original site. Presently, they are still occupying the said site as their residential lot. Okay. For this, please upload the deed of donation executed in June 1999. Okay. And then indicate the information needed therein. With regard to the implied questionable transfer of the school site to the other side of the road, it requires a corrective action. Okay. It will happen in phase 2 again. For now, at this stage of the information or data gathering and document gathering plan, just provide us with a copy of the deed of donation and then provide us with the information we need. Okay. Next, good morning. May I ask, if once submitted na ang form, pwede pa po ba i-edit ang response in case may nakuha na updated documents? Or if it is advised na kuhanin na muna ang updated documents kahit medyo matagal before filling out the form. Okay. For this, time sensitive po ang pag-fill out ng ating questionnaire. Okay. We will impose a deadline which we will share to our RDs, the SDS, and our principals and the school heads. This is time sensitive po. Meaning, once you are filling out the questionnaire, please upload the documents you currently have. Okay. And then once you have the new documents or the updated documents, please contact the focal persons for your respective divisions or regional offices so they can assist you. Okay. Please do not wait for the updated documents because we have a deadline for the submission of the questionnaire. Okay. Once you are filling out the questionnaire, just upload the documents you have. Once you get newer documents or updated documents, contact the focal persons for your respective divisions or regional offices, and we will assist you. Next question. Good morning po. What we have here in school as proof of ownership is the subdivision plan identifying the lot occupied by the school, but named under the heirs of a certain individual whom no one can reach or knows now. Under what choices will I include this material for this survey? Okay. Well, for our purposes, let's consider this document as other document. Okay. Let's consider this as other document. Okay. In the school information section, just indicate that you have a proof of ownership, and then in the next screen, choose others, and then type in subdivision plan. Okay. And then provide the information required pertaining to the land classification, ownership disputes, and ownership history. Okay. But make sure that you'll provide us with a copy of that subdivision plan because we can still use that. Okay. During the corrective action phase. Next, good morning. Tax declaration. Under which entity does the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports belong to? Thank you. The answer is it's under DepEd. It's one of the other nomenclatures of DepEd. Okay, so if it says Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports, or DEX, or Bureau of Public Schools, these are the other nomenclatures or other names of DepEd. Okay, so choose DepEd in the appropriate sections of the questionnaire. Next, good day po. Asking po about documents that we have is about MOA or Memorandum of Agreement. What category po ito? Okay. Well, it depends. For this situation, we have to look at the contents of the document. Because even if it says MOA, right, Memorandum of Agreement, but if you look at the contents and it says it's actually a sale, right? There's a conveyance of property in exchange for money, right? Although it says it's a Memorandum of Agreement, it is in fact a contract of sale, and you have to choose deed of sale in the questionnaire. Also, if it's a MOA, but when you look at it, it actually allows the ed or the school to use the property for a specific purpose and for a specific period of time. It is in fact a deed of use of property. Okay, or even if it's a MOA, but there's a conveyance, right? Of property, but there is no consideration, meaning it's in fact a donation of land. Then you have to choose deed of donation in the questionnaire. However, if your MOA, your Memorandum of Agreement, does not contain any of these provisions, right? It is clearly a different kind of document. Then please choose yes, all right? In the question whether you have an ownership or possession document, choose yes. And in the next question, choose others, and then type Memorandum of Agreement, and then upload that memorandum of agreement so we can check it. Okay. And then we will advise you on how to proceed in the phase two, or the corrective action phase of our plan. Okay. Next, good morning po. Our school is holding a deed of use of rock. The use of rock was done between the principal of elementary as the owner and the school's division superintendent as the use of rock jury. Talking of land ownership, the choices are LGU, private person corporation, and indigenous community. Okay. Okay. Thank you for raising this concern. Um, we will add another option. Okay? We will indicate, or we will add depth ed as one of the choices there. Okay? Because I agree, this situation does not fall under LGU, private person, or indigenous cultural community. We will add an option there for depth ed. So in situations uh, where the deed of use of rock or the owner indicated is depth ed, we will allow you to indicate depth ed there. We will edit the questionnaire. Okay. And then make sure that you'll upload a copy of the deed of use of rock so we can check it. Okay. I think we have addressed the questions of our participants. Uh, and I think that's that's it. Attorney Sim, please proceed.
Thank you, Chief Ralph, for answering the questions that were sent by our participants. For the questions that were not accommodated, rest assured that these will be addressed through your respective division focal persons. So once again, thank you everyone for participating, for attending, and for being present in this second session of the online workshop for gathering and collection of sites documents. To formally conclude the activity or event, we would like once again to remind everyone that the forms or the questionnaire will be sent out um, all together. Sabay-sabay po namin i-announce or i-send sa inyo yung link because I've noticed in the Q&A box may mga humihingi na. So kindly wait within the day for the questionnaire to be sent out. Again, we thank you for all your cooperation, your contributions, and for your time. Have a great day ahead and stay safe, everyone.